I spoke to Robert Powell in the less than ideal location of a noisy cafe. He still works extensively on stage, but he is best known for his work in television and on film. I asked him if he remembered what was his first screen appearance.
A very small part in television, with 6 words for a day shooting on Hunchback of Notre Dame, and found myself part of the crowd watching Esmeralda go past in her tumbril. And I had the lines because they were all extras, so I had the line, which was because I was an actor. Here she comes, here she comes. James Kethlen Jones, who I subsequently worked with properly, was the director, and he cut 3 of my words. He said, I don't think we need the second one, I think just do the first, here she comes. But I'd never forgotten that day in Ealing on that film, one day, because I got lumped with the extras. I was actually an actor, but I got lumped with these extras. And years and years and years later, I did You Never Can Tell for Jimmy Kethlen Jones, playing Valentine as a Player of the Month. And Jimmy and I got on very well, but he did say that he uses that clip from the 60s in his lectures to students about how not to make television. And I said, it wasn't me, was it? He said, no, he said it was all me. So that was very sweet. But we did talk about those days. But I remember going back to my little flat, to my girlfriend, and saying to her, I will never ever do that again. I'd rather be a waiter. And I've always stuck with that.
And it was just the humiliation of...
Yeah, it was just humiliating. It was just not... It wasn't what acting should be about. Acting's not about that. Acting is about acting.
Sure.
So, if you're going to do that, I would rather be a waiter. I'd rather be a dry cleaner. I'd rather be a bricklayer doing something proper. Because at least that would be productive. Doing one line in a 12-hour day was not productive for me. It was just utterly boring. So I thought, well, I won't do that again.
But isn't certainly all filming, but a lot of television like that?
Filming is... It's funny you should say that. I live in my own little private world. It has never, ever grasped this... Well, I understand. I understand why, but you kind of want to stand on a platform and explain to people that they're talking shit. Everybody goes, I want to be a movie star. I want to be in movies. I want to do movies. You go, have you any idea? It is the most boring thing in the world to as an actor. It is tedious beyond belief. Except if you are working on the films that you wouldn't want to work in, because they ain't going to get you famous. The films that are shown in festivals and whatever, which have actually got dialogue. And they've actually, there is no CGI, there is no action, there is no, giant monsters, none of that. But if you think about it, day after day after day on one of those films, and I did Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor on the Star Wars prequel, which was the most dreadfully boring poo that you've ever seen. But you understood why, because they're acting in front of a blue screen. Waving imaginary swords about, and trying to make it alive. That wasn't for me. I had much more fun working for Polish directors and German directors and Italian directors, making films that nobody ever saw. We won prizes for them, but at least they stretched.
Isn't there, to a certain extent? I know exactly what you mean, but to a certain extent, don't you judge it by the end product rather than the actual making of it?
Yeah, I suppose you do. It's just that the only reason people want to be in... the idiots who want to be in movies, I'm talking about the pop singers who say, I'll be an actor, as if, it's staggering. I had no idea it was that easy. Me thinking that for the last 45 years what I did for a living was pretty tough. And then some 24-year-old coming off the back of one of these talent shows said, once I've done this, I'll be an actor.
But there are people who, as well who mainly work in film.
Yeah.
I know Mark Lester quite well, who was in Oliver. And when his film career finished, when he was in his early 20s, he couldn't work in the theatre. He just couldn't do it. He couldn't do the repetition. He couldn't do the same thing 2 days running.
No, because acting is actually a really complicated process. Much, much more complicated. The problem is, like everything else, my job is to make it look easy. And the problem is, people think it is easy because it looks effortless.
Sure.
Because that's what I'm paid to do. I'm paid to make it look effortless. effortless, as if it just is happening
Sure.
instantaneously. They don't realise that a huge amount of effort has gone into making it effortless. Television is probably the easiest of all the mediums to work in, media to work in. But I don't think there's any shadow of doubt about that, because you have the benefit of film. You can tell a story over a much longer period. So let's say you're doing Tale of Two Cities, you are bound into a 1 hour 20, okay, if it's another maybe maximum 2.5 hour film to tell that major story. In television, you can take 10 hours to tell it.
Sure.
You can actually do it in depth. You can do a Bleak House on it. You can really do some fascinating work on television. And of course reach a much bigger audience.
And it's much quicker to do. You're not spending hours.
Much
hanging
quicker
around.
to do. So you're constantly in a creative mode rather than trying to, you just unplug yourself and put yourself into standby most of the time on a film set. From 1967, I think, probably, to the next 10 years, I was the dog's bollocks. People couldn't get enough of me. I was,
So why were you still playing Salisbury?
because of the part. Played Royal Hunt of the Sun. But I was also starring in a thing for the Tower of London, the BBC.
But you did some sort of decent stuff for television and film, didn't you? In fact, I saw the other night, I caught a few minutes of 39 Steps, which was decent enough film.
I did Marla for Ken Russell in '73.
Oh, that was it, yeah, that's right.
I did a film called Secrets for Philip Saville in 71.
How was working with Ken Russell?
Fantastic, I love Ken. Yeah,
I mean, when Marl was sort of more or less at his peak, wasn't it? More or less.
Yeah, and I did Tommy with him as well.
That's
So
right,
I had a wonderful time. I loved Ken, and I enjoyed working with him enormously. I did a film with David Hemmings called Running Scared, playing the lead in all these films.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was just great. I look at the young actors today who are, taken over the mantle. I think it's terrific. I'm too old to do it now. Thank you do it now. I'm fine.
Did you not expect to sort of continue with your film career till sort of now? I mean, people do it. I mean, people like Michael Caine.
Yeah, but it's just a question of the way things go. I've probably farted around a lot with my career. I just like doing things I like to do. I spent some time in LA in the early 80s and hated it. I did 2 or 3 films but at that time, in the early 80s, if you were English and you were in America, with the exception of Michael Caine and Sean Connery, maybe Roger Moore, unless you were one of them, you played gays and villains. Yeah. Why would I want to do that? I can play better parts in England, and did. I don't want to hang around LA to be 28th on the list. You're never first. That I do know. I grasp that. But I think times have changed completely now, and you've now got English actors in television series over there with American accents. But that never used to be the case.
No.
It just wasn't. It was unacceptable. Now, it's changed. It started with the Irish and the Scots for some reason. Lots of Irish actors seem to be able to make the jump into America, just as the Australians have done it. But anyway, so I don't know. It just never. I think Jesus of Nazareth probably didn't help, because it sort of gave with one hand and took away with another. Because the Americans at that time. I had a very, very high-powered American agent, Harry Offland, who was De Niro's agent and Harvey Keitel's agent, and he came to find me. He came to Rome, where I was doing another film for Liliana Cavani, and he came to look for me to put me on his books. But it was a complete waste of time.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. They didn't really know what to do with me, I don't think. I think they kept on seeing this image of Jesus.
Well, even now, I mean, somebody said to me the other day, I just saw Jesus, And how long ago was that? 40 years?
37 years, yeah.
Has that been a millstone?
Well, I have no idea. what hindsight is. I have no idea. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't done it. I mean, I was doing quite well. I was working for the Royal Shakespeare Company in travesties at the Aldwych, and I had Marlowe on at the Odeon Haymarket when I was asked to do Jesus. So I was doing quite well.
How old were you then?
30. Just coming up to 30.
It's not really the sort of thing you say no to, is it?
No, you can't. You kind of hope that you're not going to be asked. But if you once you've been asked, you can't say no. But you don't really want to be asked. Not, to be honest with you. You can't win. I mean, that's the thing. You can get away with it. But that's if the most you can hope for is to get away with it.
No, you did more than get away with it.
Yeah, well...
I mean, I think that was really...
I think
a claim, wasn't it? I mean, it was. I don't remember anything bad being said about it.
It is.
And I think you personally came out
years
very
later,
well.
It goes out every year in Greece, Italy, and if I walk down a street at that period at Easter, which I did in Cyprus
palm leaves
4 or 5 years ago, I got recognised, and I didn't beardless, short hair. People stopping me after 30.
Does that bother you?
No, it doesn't. No, not really. I'm deeply flattered, to be honest with you, that anything can last that long. It's nice to be remembered for anything, isn't it? Really, I think.
Yes, and I think the thing is not to sort of dine out on it, because I mean there are a lot of actors who've had one success and sort of
No, I'm just the opposite. We have bets every time I do a television interview as to how many minutes before they bring it up. 37 years later. I'd rather they didn't. Because, the catalogue is pretty extensive now, and I've done rather a lot of other things.